Right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are watching from. I am Gandalf the Red, and today I am going to be asking the question: can You'll Never Walk Alone save lives? Okay, so it's going to be a little bit different from my other videos, which tend to be post-match analysis or analysis of who should or should not be in the team, or perhaps who or should not be purchased by Liverpool FC in the transfer window. Okay, so this one requires a trigger warning. Okay, this is going to be a topic about mental health, and if you are sensitive to these topics, if they're likely to trigger you in some way or not, then I suggest that you swipe and find something else to watch which is more suitable to your constitution. Okay, now, You'll Never Walk Alone is associated with Liverpool Football Club. It is, of course, a very famous song. It is probably football's most famous anthem. This particular song actually originated in 1945 in a musical called Carousel. The song You'll Never Walk Alone was a part of that show. It was later adopted by Jerry and the Pacemakers in 1963, and shortly afterwards it became an anthem for Liverpool Football Club, and it was first sung at the club during the time of Bill Shankly, and ever since then it has become a part of the club. It is always sung just before kickoff, and then it is always sung towards the end of the game, usually between 85 and 90 minutes. Okay, so it is a very inspirational song, and it is supposed to embody the spirit of community that surrounds this institution that we all know and love called Liverpool Football Club. Okay, but this particular video is not going to be about football necessarily. It's going to be about the relationship between football and mental health. Okay, so trigger warning again. I'm just going to give you a very unsettling statistic. In the UK, there are roughly 6,000 suicides every single year. It fluctuates from year to year. Sometimes it drops to 5,500. Sometimes it rises to close to 7,000. But it's generally around about 6,000 people every year who decide that they simply cannot take it anymore. They decide that they do not feel like they belong on this planet, and they make the decision, unfortunately, to take their own lives. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this video, as somebody with a mental health background, somebody with a professional background in the mental health profession, I am going to advise you on some of the things you can do to look out for your friends if they are struggling with their mental health, or perhaps you might not even recognize that they are struggling with their mental health. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to point out is that the football community is very much a community of times. It's a community of dates, and it is a community of routines. Okay, so football matches, they kick off generally at 3 o'clock. Generally speaking, there's one game which is at 5:30, which will be live on satellite television, and then there will tend to be two games which are on Sunday, 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And then obviously we have Champions League games, we have cup games in the middle of the week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Okay, so the first thing I want to emphasize is that if one of your friends is struggling, you will see a break in his routine. Okay, so if he is somebody, for example, who comes to your house quite regularly to watch football matches with you. Perhaps he is somebody who meets you at the local pub in order to watch football matches with you. Perhaps he is somebody who attends games with you. Perhaps he is a season ticket holder, or perhaps he is one of these guys that goes online and just grabs whatever tickets he can whenever he can. Okay, so football is very much a game of routine, and if you are going to be a football fan, you have to submit to this routine, meaning that you have to build your life to a degree around some of these games. Okay, so for example, when I was teaching, I used to teach for about 8 hours a day. I taught for about 15 years, and I had to incorporate my teaching into the day if I knew Liverpool were playing in the Champions League in the evening, because I knew that I had to finish my marking by 6 o'clock or 6:30 at the latest, because I then had to get home, I had to eat. Obviously, I wanted to spend a bit of time with my children, and then either I would go to the game or I would go to my uncle's house and watch the game together. Okay, so I had to incorporate it into my daily routine. Now, if you have a friend who has always been a part of the football tapestry of your life, and he suddenly, without any real explanation, pulls back, so perhaps you find yourself going to games on your own. Perhaps you and your friend have a season ticket alongside each other, but his ticket is always available. You know, he's always saying, well, I'm not feeling very well, I've got a bit of work to do, I've got a bit of a flu, something's come up, and it's a variety of different excuses that don't quite make sense. Then there is a possibility that he's going through a mental health difficulty, but he has not yet mustered the courage to tell you. Okay, additionally, if you are one of these guys who invites 2, 3, 4, 5 friends to his house for the big matches, perhaps you order a pizza, perhaps you order some drinks. If you are one of those guys and you used to have 5 or 6 people in your group and now you've got 2 or 3, it is possible they've got legitimate reasons. Perhaps they're busy, perhaps they've just lost a bit of interest in football for whatever reason, perhaps they've been watching a lot of slot ball and they're feeling like they don't want to watch it anymore because it's too torturous. Perhaps they have a legitimate reason, but when the friendship group goes down, I think this is a chance for your ears and your eyes to be wide open just to see if somebody has a problem with their mental health. Okay, so these are the things that I want you to look out for. Perhaps your friend is a fan of European football, for example. We had a fantastic game yesterday evening in Paris where Paris Saint-Germain beat Bayern Munich in the semi-final of the Champions League first leg 5-4. So if this is the type of game that your friend would normally text you about, so he'd say, what a goal that was, what a terrible decision by the referee, what a fantastic goal from Doué or Kane or whoever it is. If he's that type of person, he's very excitable about football and he simply does not message you at all about a very spectacular football match. These are also the very, very subtle signs that somebody perhaps is going through a difficulty and perhaps they have not mustered the courage yet to bring it up with anybody. Okay, so I want you to think of You'll Never Walk Alone, whether you are a Liverpool fan or not just as a song that you sing at the end of the game, then you sing at the end of the game because it sounds cool and then you go home. No, I want you to think of You'll Never Walk Alone as a life philosophy. Okay, I want you to think of other human beings as your fellow man. I don't want you to see them as enemies unless they are enemies. And very few people have actual operational enemies from day to day. I want you to see your fellow man as somebody who you should look out for. Okay, so You'll Never Walk Alone is a life philosophy. In my opinion, it is a philosophy that means that we are with you in your darkest moments, because I can assure you from my own experiences, and I've had a lot of difficult experiences with my own mental health, I can assure you that when you are in your difficult moments, that is when you find out who's who, and that is when you find out what's what. Okay, because I can tell you that if you have friends, if you have family, you watch movies with them, you go to restaurants with them, you go to takeaways with them, you go to football matches with them, you go to cricket matches with them, you attend birthday parties with them, you attend celebrations with them. These are actually very, very easy to attend. It is very easy to be a friend in the good times. The real challenge is to be a friend to your friend in their darkest moments, to stand by them when they are saying things which perhaps don't make sense, when they are in tremendous pain, when they are struggling to sleep, when they don't want to go to work, when they don't want to watch football, they don't want to eat properly, they're either under eating or overeating. So I am encouraging you to use football as a barometer to keep your eye on your friends and your family, and use it as a way of connecting with other people. So if there is a friend of yours who perhaps is isolated, perhaps he's had a really difficult year, perhaps he's going through a divorce, perhaps he has had a bereavement in the family in the last 12 months. If you have friends who are going through this, use football as a way of connecting with other people, because that is how I've used it during my life. Don't get me wrong, I love football. I love Liverpool Football Club, but if Liverpool Football Club lose, then at the end of the day, it is not as disastrous as some of the other things we have been through as Liverpool fans, such as Heysel, such as Hillsborough. And I think that football should be used in this country as a way of asking men to connect with each other, to look after each other, and to keep an eye out for each other. Okay, because when a person ends their own life, the immediate reaction of a lot of people in this world is that why is it that he took his own life? What a selfish man, because most of the people that take their own lives tend to be men. Over 80% tend to be men. Okay, and people tend to go, well, what a selfish man. He left a wife behind, he left his children behind. What an absolute utter bastard. Doesn't he think about anybody but himself? That is not my immediate reaction. My immediate reaction is not what a selfish man, because I know what those people go through, and I can assure you that what happens is the mind completely shuts down and the individual simply does not believe that they are welcome here. Okay, so I don't look at them and say what a selfish bastard. I think how awful is it that with 7, 8, 9 billion people on the planet, whatever it is, they didn't feel welcome here, and they felt that they had no other choice other than to do what they did. Okay, so from this day forth, I would like you to see You'll Never Walk Alone, not just as a song, but as a life philosophy. Okay, so let's look after our own mental health, and let's look after the mental health of our family and our friends and our neighbors and our football community. Okay, if you could subscribe and like the video, that would be absolutely fantastic. Take it easy. Lovely to see you, and I will see you again very, very soon indeed.